And welcome back to What If. This What If comes to us from, at minimum, someone named I am Nahai. There might be other people who have given me this, but this is the only person I found at the time. If someone else did suggest this, let me know. I will put it in the comments below, or in the descriptor below. But this is, what if Pokemon were real? So it is a question that obviously that we've, as fans, have kind of just jokingly speculated about, but it's a legit question. What if Pokemon were real? How would that have changed the progress of human history? Would our world actually look like the world of Pokemon? So let's roll it back. Let's roll it way back. Roll back the clock through the dawn time. So we have to first ask the question: is this a world where animals and Pokemon are real, or do we live in a world where it's just Pokemon? Because in the original Gen 1, they implied both real animals and Pokemon existed in the same world, and that's just not the case anymore. I would say that, well, let's go with the idea that we are going with our Earth's biology evolution with strictly Pokemon. So, there's probably, God knows how many Pokemon still need to be discovered, because there's only less than shy of 900 species of Pokemon, and we have a very big world out there. Whereas there are thousands upon almost millions of species of animals out there. So overall, we can talk about our entire genomes and like the animal kingdom and all that. So right around the gate, there are far more animal species in the world than there are Pokemon species. So there's probably a lot more Pokemon that have yet to be discovered discovered than the, I believe it's 898 we have right now. I think that's what we have. I think I actually wrote it down here too. This is from a different video. Yeah, 898. But let's go back to the evolution of mankind. We would have, obviously, the extinction level events that wiped out certain Pokemon species and all of that. I think right from the gate, though, assuming Pokemon are real, assuming we have all the species that we have that exist here, we have to also understand the idea that there were a lot more that got wiped out because of mass extinctions, because the mass extinction events in our history would still take place, obviously. And Pokemon would probably have to adapt, and others would go extinct. Ancient forms, regional variants. Regional variants would be ran amok in our world, because you'd have obviously like the Hawaii, the Alolan variants. You'd have the Galarian, the UK variants, and those are just two regional variants because they're based off real worlds. You'd have the Australian variants, the Chinese variant, the Russian variant. There would be so many variants here that they themselves could be their own region if you just decide to throw variants of Pokemon into the world. That actually, you know what? I say that out loud. That is an awesome idea for a fan game. A fan game where it's only regional variants, like almost like a Safari Zone where they've all now populated the area. Now you'd have to do a lot of regional variants, at least 100 plus starters and a legendary, but still, I think that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool. But again, we need a lot of regional variants, and regional variants that fill out the spectrum of the type scale too. Like you can't just have, like, we don't have any bug regional variants right now. We don't have any dragon. No, we do have the Executor. I know there's a bunch of types we don't have right now. I don't think we have a ground regional variant right now. We do not have, or is Alolan Stunfisk a ground? I think Alolan Stunfisk is a ground. But you know what you get my meaning here, is that we don't have a huge amount of regional variants. I don't think we have a fighting type regional variant yet, do we? Regional. I don't know. The R key, a couple of the letters on my keyboard are kind of missing the strokes lately. Like I press it and it doesn't do it, so I have to press it a couple times. Regional. Not region. There we go. Regional variants. Regional variant Pokemon. Just actually looking up the amount of regional, what types we have in the regional variants. So, let's see. We have Dark Normals covered, Psychic and Electric, Ice and Steel, Fairy, Ground is covered, belongs to Dark is covered, we get Rock is covered, Poison's covered, Grass is covered, Fire's covered, Psychic is covered, Poison, Fairy, yeah, we got that. Fighting is covered, that's right. Farfetch'd, Ghost. Okay, so I can get an idea of what has been covered. So we do not have grass, or no, we do not have a water regional variant yet. We do not have a bug regional variant yet. It does not look like we have a Again, I got to count it out real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Nope, got that. 15, 14, 15. We're missing one here, or we're missing. There's 18 types, and I'm missing it. What is the other typing I'm missing here? Water psychic. Yeah, you're sorry. This is important actually. Like bug, water. Yeah, I can't remember all the typings right at the top of my head that should be on here. I know 2 are missing. There's a 3rd one missing, unless I'm miscounting. Anyway, I digress. I've been going long enough. So regional variants would run amok, but our entire history would be different. Like if we are living in a world with just Pokemon, then our entire history is completely changed. Let's look at just standard fare of ancient caveman history. We wouldn't be catching Pokemon. We'd be basically domesticating Pokemon just as we domesticated other Pokemon. But I mean, if we're talking about canines, like Pokemon that hunt in packs and stuff like that, we'd be talking about I don't know, Growlithe probably would have been very close very early domesticated Pokemon. Pokemon that get along much easier with humans would have been the easier ones to domesticate. So that happens. Then you go into like the Greeks, Egyptians, Romans. Our entire history, we'd be worshiping Pokemon as deity because the legendary Pokemon would be having a greater effect in there. The thing is, too, even though they're myth and legend, as we got more advanced, science and things along those lines, we would learn that these gods that we worshipped are in fact real. Arceus is real. Giratina, Dialga, Palkia, these technically are 4 legitimate god Pokemon, are real. And of course, because we can't help but tamper with nature, we still would, in essence, we would still inevitably create Mewtwo because they found a fossil of Mew in Guyana, which is a real world place. Arcanine would be big in China because the Gen 1 state also it's a Chinese Pokemon. So Arcanine, because it's based off Foo Dog. So Arcanine would be big in China. So right at the gate, our entire culture would be changed because we would certainly be using Pokemon more for warfare, all that. We would still have firearms too. We'd still invent gunpowder, all that. I don't know how far we would progress as a society in terms of warfare. Would we end up creating the atomic bomb? I don't know. Because Pokemon really do, having these creatures that can use elementals that can could theoretically kill you in an instant, does change the whole idea of the world to a lot of degree. And this is extreme, but how does Hitler react with Pokemon? That's a big question to be asking off the bat. But Hitler. We know Hitler had dogs. He liked dogs. But does Hitler have Pokemon? And if so, does he use them to do what he did, or are they actually enough to make him feel, all right, actually temper him? It's a really interesting question. I would say this. You would still get evil men out there doing evil things because you have Team Rockets, your Team Rockets, your Team Galactics, your Team Plasmas. You still got your evil teams out there. But I think some of the lesser evil people out there. I'm trying to think of someone who would, I guess, be considered a lesser evil person, which is a very subjective thing to think about. Let's just look at something like corrupt politicians or bad presidents. They would probably be curbed to some degree because Pokemon exist. I would go so far as to say, and I need to be very careful, that racial relations could be different because of the advent of Pokemon. Now, you might still get you would still get racial diversity, racial discrimination, because that's never going away, because that's part of our species. It's part of our species. It's part of our unfortunate mindset as a species. But the fact, the whole Pokemon train thing, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. Maybe minorities would be discriminated from being Pokemon trainers, and it'd be Martin Luther King would be, I believe that everyone should have a Pokemon as a partner. Maybe you be a trainer or a housekeeper or anything like that. Seriously, it actually raises a lot of political and cultural questions. It does. It's actually a very fascinating thing when you think about it in terms of our world. Because we have no idea what their world actually had to go through in their history. We've got glimpses of the Pokemon world. We know there's been several wars. But we have no idea about like race relations or politics or anything like that. But I would say that it would still be mitigated to some degree, because you would have Pokemon that would go on rampages, and ultimately that just because you hurt their train, you hurt someone that was close to them, and you would still get pig-headed people who would not understand why that was the case. But I think ultimately you would get the intervention of certain Pokemon that are extremely powerful. You would get the intervention, not of Arceus, mind you, but eventually when Mewtwo is created and is ultimately set loose, I think Mewtwo initially does try to destroy the world, but I do think the power of one. Well, I do think Mewtwo would be curbed, because I do think we would eventually develop weapons strong enough to combat that if we had to. Unfortunately, dropping a nuke on him wouldn't work. Yeah, that's the thing. Mewtwo's strong enough that a nuke isn't going to freaking work, because he can just catch the nuke and play hot potato with it. But I think Mewtwo would be curbed, because otherwise Mewtwo would actually end humanity. He would end humanity. But I do think Mew comes down, Mew helps out, and Mewtwo ultimately would get a new lease on life. And I say he sometimes because Mewtwo speaks with a male voice, but Mewtwo is genderless. And ultimately, I think Mewtwo would be stopped too, because he's threatening the balance of the world. There are other legendary Pokemon out there that can take him on. Like Mewtwo, as strong as Mewtwo is, and Mewtwo is a brick shithouse in terms of overall raw power, he is not the definitive strongest Pokemon in the world. Hell, Darkrai alone is a pure dark type, which means he's completely immune to most of Mewtwo's attacks. But regardless, I think Mewtwo would maybe try to be the Pokemon equivalent of Hitler to some degree. After especially seeing like what our humanity has created, Mewtwo would actually be a very big turning point in history, because he might try to do the same thing as like a Hitler or a Un or a Putin, or anything. Putin's not okay. I'm not trying to say, hey, yeah, these guys are great, but no, okay, he's not that bad. Not bad. Not a good guy, I don't think, but not that bad. But anyway, I digress. He's seeing what humanity does, and at first he would probably try to subjugate humanity, kind of like Loki style. It's like, is this not who you really are? You crave subjugation. And when you know that in your heart of hearts, you will know peace. But ultimately, other Pokemon intervene. Like, the Pokemon actually stand against Mewtwo eventually, knowing that, look, we get it. Humanity isn't perfect. But guess what? You're being no better than the people you set out to enslave. Like we've seen it. We've been especially like Ninetales, for instance, which should live like 1,000 years at least. We've been around. We've seen it. You're no better than them. All you are is a Pokemon, and Pokemon doing this, and not a human. And Mewtwo would be offended by that, and maybe try to like take these Pokemon out. Ultimately, certain Pokemon come to aid that would be able to stand up to Mewtwo. Again, particularly Dark type Pokemon would be very advantageous here. Darkrai especially, because there are more than one Darkrai in the world we know. Oh, we don't know for certain, but it's very much implied. There's a great series. Is it Birdkeeper Toby? Or I don't know who does it. But basically, the legendary, are they really legendary? Or the mythical, are they really mythical? How rare are they? Is there only one of them, or there's multiple? And they kind of determined that there's probably multiple Darkrai. Maybe not a lot of them, enough that there's like maybe only 3 or 4 or 5. But a Darkrai maybe comes in and like defends him, and it's like, that's enough. And then they would clash, and Mewtwo would actually be on the back foot. Ultimately, Mewtwo, though, is smart enough to understand that maybe what it was doing is wrong. And that is the huge turning point in our society, where we saw what we did, we saw what we've done to people. And to be fair, it was a turning point in our society for a while, but people just tend to ignore that because we are self-centered assholes who want to just believe what we believe. But then we see another figure who can just crush us with their mind, realize the fault. And I think that would have been a big turning point in our entire worldwide society, we would, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be conflict. I mean, look at today. But there's always going to be conflict, but I think it would have been curbed out a lot and a lot more progression, and to the point where ultimately we may have actually developed. I mean, we don't have the technology, obviously, for a legitimate Pokeball now, but with the aid of super smart Pokemon like a freaking Alakazam, Metagross, Psychic type Pokemon out there, and consistent advancement in technology, we may have something akin to the Pokemon Society, where yes, Pokemon can be used for battles. Yes, we definitely do that, but it's under the understanding that it is for sport and entertainment. Because let's be honest, it's like MMA. Yeah, we beat the crap out of each other, but it's for sport and entertainment, and we know what we're getting into. The Pokemon would understand this too, because they're sentient as well. There'd be a lot more, peace in society. There would always be conflict, but I think it'd be a lot more easily handled conflict. Because our religions would also be very different too. That's another big thing we'd have to factor in, is that you wouldn't have you wouldn't have Christianity, Buddhism, Muslim, Judaism. You wouldn't. I mean, a variation of those could maybe exist, but they would be combined with Pokemon. So I mean, you'd have whatever Christianity would be, or Catholicism would be with like Arceus, because Arceus, let's be honest, is the god figure. And then probably a off-sect of that for Judaism. But the question just becomes is that because we have these creatures in our world, I don't think like religious views would be anywhere near as big of an issue. Yeah, you're always going to get the people who think differently and stuff like that. But that's an individual thing. That's not an entire group per se. Ultimately, we would have a very interesting society. Warfare in the early days would be much different. Religion would be much different. I think our political and our, racial and our economic systems or racial cultures would be vastly changed overall. And all because of this little yellow mass. You did good, Pikachu. You did good. Or, a fire-breathing dragon, or the majestic snow fox, or the tongue-wielding ninja frog. Yeah, Pokemon's weird. And I love every bit of it. And also, I mean, another thing. Proof of the fucking afterlife with ghost Pokemon. I mean, there is an afterlife of some kind because of ghost Pokemon. Because a lot of ghost Pokemon are, in fact, human spirits that turn into Pokemon. So, yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, really. Where would we be, like, say, now, today? That's I don't think we would be in anywhere near the shitstorm we're being now, like the pandemic. I think most of us would be at a much more even playing field culturally. I think there'd be a lot more peace within nation. There'd still be those who are more antagonistic, but you're always going to have that. But it'd be a lot more equal in terms of the power structure, because Pokemon would also be playing a big part in our military society as well. And how we fight is all going to be dependent on the Pokemon we carry in our groups. There's only so many Pokemon out there, obviously, but at the same time, they would also, be reproducing just like any other animal would. I think one thing that would be interesting is the whole idea of eating meat, because with Pokemon, we actually get the understanding that pretty much all these Pokemon are sentient on some level. With animals, we don't treat it as such. We get the idea that they're alive and all that. We eat them for food, but yeah, I'll admit, and there's proof that we've eaten Pokemon too. So Magikarp's been attempted to be eaten. It's not good to eat. Farfetch, we know, was the case. We assume Tauros and Miltank are used for food as well. Pidgeys might be. We know certain fish Pokemon definitely are. But yeah, I think we'd be actually living in not a solely vegetarian vegan society. I do think meat would still be available, but there would be understandings about, survival and all that. But I think there'd be a lot more of a vegetarian/vegan society, surprisingly, because these animals are much more intelligent than most of even the most basic of these Pokemon are much more intelligent or are near intelligent enough to be considered like near the top level of our current animal hierarchy of intelligence. Dolphins, chimps, orangutans, those type of animals. Ravens are extremely intelligent. Even like some of the basic pokemon. Let's just use a Caterpie, for example. A Caterpie, we've seen it. Like a Caterpie is capable of understanding commands, of doing things on its own and acting on its own to protect someone, actually understanding what you're saying and reacting with its own emotions. And that's a Caterpie of all things. Like Pokemon are much smarter, or at least on par with them, our most intelligent animals on the planet. And those are just the base Pokemon. Then you're going with Pokemon that are in fact super geniuses, like Alakazam, Slowking, Metagross. It's one of those things where, yeah, we really would probably have to. We'd really have to readjust and reconsider and reevaluate our viewpoints on eating meat. Ultimately, yeah, if Pokemon were real, it would be a really unique society we have. Like Domino, my dog, would probably, honestly, Domino is probably a Bolton. I'd consider a Domino a Bolton. So I'd have a Bolton as a pet. I'd also have an Ekans, probably. Although I did say Sandaconda would be on my team. So I don't know, maybe it's because there's 3 animals in the house at the moment, and chickens in the back, which I guess Combuskins. Because they're not chicks anymore. Torchic's a chick. Combuskin or Blazikins, I guess, would be more chickens. But there really isn't a... that's actually a very interesting thing. Besides Blaziken being a rooster, there actually isn't a chicken Pokemon. Hello, puppy. You said my name several times on your pair. Yes, I did. So, yeah, and my sister has a cat. So a Meowth, or... Actually, no. That would be a Perugly, because... her cat is a bit of a chunky cat. That'd be a Perugly. Anyway, yeah, it would be very interesting. Very interesting. Hell, my house would be interesting just on its own. But I digress. That is my thoughts. Thanks for watching. What do you think the world would be like if Pokemon were real? Put in the comments below and let us know. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you folks next time. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Later.